You know how much I like the Fantastic Four trailer? This might be the first MCU film I ever seen in theaters. Yes, it's true. I've never seen a single MCU film in theaters. I know, I know. Yes, I know. That's very strange. But by some miracle of not wanting to see any of the Marvel movies all that much, I've never seen any of the MCU films in theaters. But I might make an exception for the Fantastic Four First Steps, because this looks awesome. This is exactly what I wanted Marvel to do with the Fantastic Four. Instead of trying to force them into the current MCU, take the FF back to the 60s and tell the story from there. There's a magic to those early Stan Lee and Jack Kirby comics, and, at least in the trailer, the new Fantastic Four movie seems to nail it. It looks like a comic book brought to life, and not in that hokey way where they wink and nod at the audience. The tone feels just like what Stan Lee said, like the world outside your window, if it were still the 60s and in the Marvel Universe. First off, I gotta give the VFX team credit for the thing because he looks incredible. I can see they're leaning into Kirby's later take on Ben Grimm, especially with the shape of his face. We're long past the point of worrying about whether a CG character can hold up on screen, but it's still a cool sight to see when it works. We'll have to see how well it holds up for the rest of the movie, but at least in the trailer, Ben's looking good, especially his eyes. The movement is so dead on, I think that might actually be the actor's real eyes. If they're not, and they are CG, the animators did a fantastic job, no pun intended, because his eyes look real. We get a few shots of Johnny and Sue's powers, and from what we can see, they look pretty cool. We don't get a shot of Reed doing anything, which I guess they're saving for a later trailer. We do get some talk between him and Sue, but it's not much to go on. And I know this is where people who have a hate boner for Pedro Pascal will jump in to complain and automatically hate the film. To them, I would say, if I can still like Hulk Hogan and Mel Gibson's work despite their, let's say, colorful phrases about people of African persuasion, then the Pedro Pascal haters can also separate the art from the artist. Besides, he looks perfect. Same goes for Vanessa Kirby, and a part of me hopes that they cast her just because of her last name. Now, Joseph Quinn isn't what I would imagine Johnny Storm looks like, but maybe his performance might be there, so I'll give him a chance. And Evan Moss-Bachrach, he's got it.
I want to add a couple cloves of garlic, not because it's not delicious, I just want to add a little bit of zip.
That's the voice I hear in my head when I think about how the thing should sound. As for the villains, there's a snippet of John Malkovich, who I think is playing the Red Ghost. I don't remember much about the character off the top of my head, but Malkovich has definitely got the vibe. That said, I could be wrong and he could be playing someone else. We also get a few quick shots of Galactus. This sort of character is hard to pull off in live action settings without it looking silly, so until I see clear images of him, I'll withhold judgment. Now, how this movie fits into the broader MCU is still unclear. Obviously, this is an alternate universe because we already know that Robert Downey Jr. will play Doctor Doom, and he's Tony Stark in the main MCU. If I remember right, in the Doctor Strange movie there was some reference to the Council of Reeds, which in the comics is a bunch of Reed Richards who teamed up together to become a sort of multiverse Illuminati. It's possible they might try to tie this Reed Richards in with that group, but again, it's all up for grabs. If Marvel Studios keeps this new universe separate, at least for now, this would be a great way to introduce the X-Men to the MCU. We already got a 60s vibe with Fox's X-Men First Class, but I don't see any reason not to revisit it again in the same world as the Fantastic Four, since Marvel Studios is going to reboot the X-Men franchise. That could open the door to other characters as well, like a reboot of Ghost Rider, even though he debuted in the 1970s, or giving Marvel Studios a chance to cast new actors as the Avengers. Of course, the last time I made a video about a trailer, that movie turned out to be a mess. So here's hoping I don't jinx the Fantastic Four. After all, it'd be nice to finally get a decent movie with them, since the previous three weren't all that good. Oh wait, I forgot. We already got a great one. Then again, there's nothing wrong with having two. But what do I know? I'm just some guy.